Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first meeting of 2023. And I hope you all had a wonderful and relaxing Christmas. We have a full council tonight, and also joining us is the CAO Gary Corbett and Marjorie Gibbons, Director of Business Development and Marketing, and Krista Turnbull will be taking the minutes. So welcome everybody, and certainly to all of our residents joining in. And we also hope that they too had a wonderful Christmas. So I will now call the meeting to order, and the agenda, is there before you. Could I have a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Crawley, seconded by
Councillor King.
Seconded by Councillor Bruce King. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those against?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Adoption of the minutes from the regular meeting of Council December the 13th, 2022. Any errors or omissions?
Yes, Gary, I'd like to say something before we go to the approval, if I can.
Okay, go ahead.
If I remember, and reading the meeting this evening, the minutes, we were going to award a contract for the operations review in our last meeting. After we voted for it at that time, we found out there was an error in scoring. So more information was supposed to be forthcoming. We were supposed to check with procurement, agency, municipal affairs, and legal. Now, I sent one of our councillors a message. Yes, the letters were received from these, but I have not seen these letters myself personally, and before I see them, I will not vote in favor of the minutes today. Thank you.
Okay, the purpose of the minutes, the purpose of the adoption of the minutes is to adopt the minutes from the last meeting, which a resolution or a motion was carried. And under Robert's Rules of Procedure and under the Rules of Procedure and Robert's Rules of Order, we're not to get into a debate over the minutes, but rather determine if there was an error in the actual motion itself. So the fact is, the committee did seek advice from municipal affairs and from the procurement agency, as well as our legal. It did go back. We did get the information. The committee received it. We had a meeting on it. 3 out of the 4 councillors agreed that we did, based on the information that was provided, we did make a correction in the evaluation, in that because there was one error made, then that was dropped, simply because under the proposal, it only required 3 evaluators, but we went with 4. And given the fact that there was a major error made, then that was automatic, that was dropped. And then the evaluation from there was based on the 3, which was required under the proposal. And under that evaluation, that the current consultant who was awarded the contract, where the motion was approved on December 13th, then that stands. So the committee has recommended, there was an email sent out today from Councillor Windsor explaining to that effect, and the committee feels that everything is in order, and we complied with the advice that was given. So, but there's nothing in of any substance in the Procurement Act that clearly defines what process has to be followed in this particular situation. So on that basis, we feel that discretion had to be applied from the committee and council. So there was no substantive, there's nothing in the Procurement Act that clearly articulates that in the event that there's an error, that this is the process that shall be followed. So neither municipal affairs, the procurement agency, or the legal could actually give us any further advice. So on that basis, we met as a committee, we evaluated that, and we feel that the previous motion on December 13th should stand. Okay, is there any errors or omission? Any further errors or omissions?
No, and very well articulated, Mayor.
Would you like to add something, Steve, to that?
If I'm permitted to do so, I know as you explained, the Robert's Rules of Order is not to entertain a debate here, but to support you in your comments, yeah, I will add that we did consult with Municipal Affairs and Procurement, as you said. This is an unprecedented scenario, and there are some lessons learned in terms of the way the scoring is approached. I think it was a little complicated, and there was an error made. But as the tender documents state quite clearly, that 3 evaluators are required, and we utilised 4. We discarded 1 scorecard as a spoiled ballot. There was a clear mathematical error made there, and to uphold the integrity of the process, it would not be appropriate to allow that individual to rescore their card. Therefore, it was decided that the best course of action was to discard that card, and the other 3 cards proceeded, and the result is the same. And the intent of the other score, by the way, and I have to say that, the intention was there for that evaluator to award to proponent A. Okay, and that would have been 3 evaluators to 1 evaluator. Discarding that, it's still 2 evaluators to 1 evaluator. It was all above board, very clear, and the guidance, frankly, from the provincial people that we consulted with, they expressed their personal vague opinions. There's nothing in the legislation that clearly calls out this type of scenario, and there was nothing in case law that calls out this scenario. So to me, it's a fait accompli. We've beaten it to death. Many discussions, and additionally, through the evaluation of the and discussing it, there was a number of other things that came to light too in the conversation that I feel are relevant. And the intent of this is a cold eyes review, and we need to get on with it. And frankly, I'm sick of talking about it. And the motion should stand as it was at the public meeting last month. And we just need to move forward. And I hear in the residents loud and clear on a number of matters. And this is something that council has talked about for a year now. We just delivered a very challenging budget with some reservations by all of us. We need to get on with this and see if we can deliver some results. Thank you.
Okay, we don't usually call for motion, but given the given the situation, I'm going to call for a motion to accept the motion that was passed on December the 13th be carried. Could I have a mover, please?
I'll move it, yeah,
by
so
Deputy
moved.
Mayor.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Woodford.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councillor Windsor. Further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Councillor Buckle, I didn't get, did you say aye?
Aye.
Okay, those against?
I'm against.
Okay, motion, okay, the minutes are adopted through a motion. Six for the motion, 1 against. All right, the special meeting of council is December the 20th. Are there any errors or omissions? Okay, if not, we will move on to business arising. No business arising. Mayor's update, and I do not have anything this meeting. Correspondence, CAO, is there any correspondence? No correspondence. Okay, planning and development. We have Deputy Mayor Woodford or Ann or Steve. Who's going to take the lead on the update?
I can do the update. There is no update at this time because our committee has not met. since the last public meeting. We do have meetings scheduled for this month with regards to planning and development and the town plan review.
Okay, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor.
I don't know if there's anything that Steve would like to add on to that.
No, Deputy Mayor, that's perfect. Look forward to our next meeting. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, folks. And now we'll move on to recreation and community events. Councillor King or Councillor Buckle?
No, this is Councillor Buckle. We never had a meeting since the new year either, our committee never. Just that the last week of January now, that the flyer will be going out for the Crystal Carnival, and the dates are February 17th to 26th. So there's lots of activities coming up for everyone to enjoy. So that's going to be great. We got a little bit of snow today. Hopefully it will be around when the Crystal Carnival starts up, but looking forward to having the Crystal Carnival this year and getting people out, get involved in the community. So that's it from recreation. At least Councillor King got anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay, thank you. And yes, we'll certainly keep our fingers and toes crossed that we get that the weather do cooperate and that we're able to pull off our annual Crystal Carnival in fine style as in previous years. Okay, now we'll move on to infrastructure and public works. Councillor Windsor and Councillor Sadie King.
Oh, sorry, I was struggling to get the unmute button on. Yeah, it's Councillor Windsor. Similar to the other committees, the infrastructure and public works have not met since our last public meeting. The calendar has been issued for the committee meetings, but I guess one comment. I mean, the snowfall today. Everybody be safe and commend the public works staff for the work they do. You see them out driving around, doing their thing, clearing our roads and laying the salt and sand. And, like I've said before, last winter, I find that they respond very rapidly and provide an excellent service, probably better than some of the other communities that I commute through on my way to and fro to work. So well done, and thank you for the work you do, and everybody be safe. And, it just kind of reminds me too, something that Councillor Bruce King and I have talked about before is a safety part. This storm was not nearly what it could have been, or they talked up. But I mean, a little reminder that we got to get back on our radar for 2023. New Year's resolution is a safety emergency exercises, right? If there's power outage or seniors who don't have anyone to look in on them and things like that. Warming stations. I think there's some things there that we need to do, and we can't forget about it. And this is certainly not that weather event today, but I just wanted to raise that, Mayor, seeing as I had the floor, to remind everyone that something that's very important for us to do and not lose sight of it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Some very good points there. Councillor Sadie King, do you have anything to add?
No, nothing to that, Gary. This evening.
Okay, we'll move on now to business development and marketing. Deputy Mayor Woodford.
Yes, we met yesterday evening, January the 9th, with our director, Marjorie Gibbons, our mayor, and myself in attendance. Our CAO offered his regrets. There were 4 applications that were reviewed. 2 were complete enough that they will be sent to planning and development for further review. With regards to the student projects, the deadline to have funding in for our students for the summer, I believe is this Thursday coming, and our director indicated she has 2 of the 3 completed because she does it for recreation and the marina and then the town of Holyrood itself. So she indicated that that should be all completed and sent for Thursday's deadline. And the other item that we would like to bring up tonight would be business ownership, registration of businesses in Holyrood. We're moving into phase 2 implementation. So we're identifying businesses that are on Cato with a Holyrood address. The same, we are looking out at social media ads from home-based businesses who will both receive letters for registration of their business as per our regulations with the town. Other than that, that's in the process. We need to draft a letter. The committee needs to review it, and then we'll move on from there. Other than that, that's it for business development marketing. Mayor?
Okay, thank you very much. Any
Mayor,
que-
could I comment on that subject that the deputy mayor just spoke to?
You certainly can.
Yeah, I think it's really important work, and what she described there is something that we've really got to push hard on. I'll tell you about a few interactions I had, since our last public meeting and with small business owners here in town, and recognizing, what we have rolled out in the budget. And there are some increases there for registered business owners. And the feedback I had was, well, hey, no one wants anything to go up, right? But, feedback was, look, Steve, I'm paying my share. It's making it harder for me in my profit margin. However, I have competitors, in the town or other businesses in the town who are not paying their share. And the idea is if everyone did pay their share correctly, maybe we wouldn't have to be raising some of these fees, and maybe that could even in fact be lowered, right? That's the idea of it, right? But we have quite a number of small businesses dodging that, and it's not fair to the registered business owners who are paying more than their share for the services in this town. So I just wanted to provide some feedback. I did have some encounters with small business owners, and that was what they said, and I fully agree with them. And I support the committee in pushing forward with that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Well said, well articulated. Okay, we'll move on now to public safety. Councillor Bruce King and Councillor Buckle.
I can start, and then Councillor Buckle can fill in the blanks. Good evening, everyone. We haven't had, we're pretty well the same as everybody else. We haven't had a meeting in the new year, but we have one slated for the 24th of this month. And some of the things that we're going to discuss is actually Councillor Windsor did a great job for his lead in. And the first one on the agenda is going to be the emergency preparedness plan. We've talked about it. So at that meeting, we're going to sort out a firm date that we can get together, review the emergency preparedness plan, make sure it is up to date, make sure it's current, and it reflects the kind of environment that we're living in today, because everything has changed. The other thing that we're going to talk about, and people are very concerned about it, is the possibility of the private ambulance strike. We've talked about this a number of times. The fire chief is also on it, and we're going to make sure whatever happens, the residents of Holyrood will be looked after, and their safety will be our #1 priority. And I'm sure I can speak for everybody on this conference tonight that's the way we're going to look at it, and that's the way we will proceed. Okay. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and this is an article by the outgoing CEO of Municipalities Newfoundland and Labrador, which was Craig Pollitt. And he talked about some of the stuff prior to his retiring. And he also brought it up as well at the Gander conference. And some of the things, and he said, was one of the biggest impacts to municipalities in the coming years is going to be climate change. And it's going to be outrageously expensive. Okay. And if we look at what happened in Port-aux-Basque, it was outrageously expensive. I don't think anybody can put any better word on it than that. And the other thing he talked about is we need to have and I've brought this up before, we need to have a serious conversation about regionalization. And here in Conception Bay Center, we need to be able to work together, especially when it comes to fire and emergency services, because in 5 or 10 years' time, we will not be able to afford, going it alone, the amount of money that we would have to spend to maintain these types of services. It's just impossible. And most places around Newfoundland and Labrador are coming to that reality. And I think we should as well, because there was an article a couple of days ago on social media with regards to CBS. There's 9 9 communities make up CBS. But if you talk to any person, for example, if you met somebody on the highway or out in town, they say where you're from, there's a very good chance they would say, well, I'm from Seal Cove, or I'm from Chamberlains, or I'm from Upper Gullies, right? So a community's identity would not be lost by regionalization, okay? And the other thing that was brought up, there's 275 municipalities here in Newfoundland. 78% of those municipalities have less than 1,000 residents, and that's as of February of 2022. So we need to look. We got to stop looking in the rear view mirror. We got to start looking what it's going to look like in Holyrood in 5 years, 10 years. You know, in 10 years' time, when we're probably all gone, except maybe for Sadie. Sadie will probably be still here, but the rest of us will probably be gone. And I would invite you to go and check out the article. It is called "What Does the Future of Municipal Government Look Like in Newfoundland and Labrador?" It was on CBC News, and it was posted on the 12th of November of 2022. And I think it's a real eye opener. Some like people like Craig Pollard, something like the mayor of Port-aux-Basques. All of these people had a very interesting twist on it, and some of it's really worked not only for the members of council, but also the residents as well, to take a few minutes to go read it. And there was also another article today on VOCM News, and it came from the mayor of Campbellton, and with the incident that happened out there a few days ago, and the same thing. Their fire department, they only have 3 in their volunteer fire department. None of those firefighters had the training to be able to enter the building. They had to stay outside and fight the fire from the outside. They had to wait till the fire department from Lewisport showed up so they could actually go into the building. And we all know from the news that there was a deceased person in the building. And the last part I'm going to talk about is with regards to the operational review. I hope when this operational review is completed and that we can find savings, regardless of where it is, I would suggest that we would start something very similar to a climate fund and keep that money and let it grow in the event that something happens here in Holyrood, that we have money to be able to invest in repairing infrastructure or making it more sustainable to the climate that's going to come in the near future. And that's all I have right now, Mr. Mayor, and I will turn it over to Councillor Buckle. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
No, nothing for me, Council. Just looking at having our next meeting now in the new year. And I mean, there is some stuff there and some great topics, and we're going to touch base with the RCMP in a meeting too. So looking forward to the new year, doing some creative stuff there in our committee there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I just want to say, Councillor King and to all of council, some very good points. And I like that approach because this day and age, our climate is definitely changing. I mean, if you look back 5 years ago, you'd have a lot of people that would argue whether climate change is here or whether it's real at all, but I think most people have accepted the fact that climate change is actually here and it's hitting us hard and it's hitting us fast. All you have to do is look at what's happening in California today. And it's happening all over the states with wildfires and flooding. Things that never happened. They happened before, but not on the same scale or magnitude or severity. So we're not immune to it. And I really appreciate your forward-thinking approach. And we have to look at long-term planning, for what we anticipate can and maybe will happen down the road. And we have to be prepared for that in every way we possibly can. So I certainly appreciate your input on this and your approach to it. And I'm sure all the council will agree that if we can free up some funding in future budgets, that it maybe should go, or some of it should go toward a climate change plan. so we can accrue that funding in the eventuality that something of a large scale were to happen in our community, that we have our share of funding that we can reach out then to other levels of government to assist. So I really like that approach, and I think it makes a lot of sense and it's realistic. So thank you very much for that. Okay, with that said, we will now move on to communications. Councillor Crawley.
Good evening, everyone. We haven't met since the new year, but there are a few things that I would like to touch base on. In regards to communication, we are looking forward to moving through with our communication policy section for internal, but this is based on external communication. And there's been a lot of it. And of course, it's being dragged through Facebook and all the other forms of social media. People are reaching out to through our personal emails, personal messaging systems and things like that, which, you know, when it comes to official town business, of course, I'm sure we'd all prefer that people would reach out using our Holyrood accounts, and that way it can be documented and we can deal with it professionally. I'm not going to get into an argument or shouting match on Facebook. It's just not going to do it. I'm not going to respond, but I will respond to a few things that I've seen here so that it's official. And one is based on our tax increase. The town doesn't have loads of money and don't know what we're doing with it, which is some of the things that have been said. We needed a tax increase because, as you all know, gas increased, parts increased. If you want your sewer improvements, your water improvements, they all increased. Our tenders increased, our heat increased, our lights increased, just like everybody else's. The towns did as well. So this is one of the bases for our tax increase. The other thing is garbage pickup. There's been some complaints about garbage pickup. Again, I'd stress that the public reach out to the town hall appropriately, and we'll make sure that Eastern Waste Management has been contacted and ensure that something has been done, that there might be a reason that it was missed. There might not be a reason that was missed. But again, if it's not through the appropriate means, then nothing's going to get done, because there's no sense of venting it and throwing it all out over social media without contacting the appropriate means. The other thing I've been reached out to about, and it kind of goes a little bit back on public safety, is pictures being taken all over the town of Holyrood and displayed on social media. As far as I can see, there's no privacy concerns with faces or license plates, which covers the privacy agreement in Canada. However, there is a personal responsibility for showing people's private areas and private properties. And I do have phone calls in to Transport Canada and Aviation Canada, and I'm waiting for their responses to see where it falls under that and what the council and municipalities' role is on that. So again, communication is important to go through the proper channels. Otherwise, we're just not reaching what you want us to reach or covering what we want to cover. And then to complain that we're not doing the right things is, you know, mute point if you're not telling us what needs to be done. So that's my communications update. I don't know if Councillor King or Councillor Deputy Mayor Woodford has anything else they'd like to add.
I'm good, Laura.
Yeah, that was very well said, Laura. I agree 110%. You know, reading some of the chatter that's on social media sites beyond our own with the town of Holyrood. There's a lot of chatter there about, you know, the budget, and we knew that that was going to happen. However, some of the comments that have been made, obviously, it's obvious that some of these individuals did not go on our site or didn't read our document in full to understand the reasons behind the increase that we were basically forced into in order to keep the town running as status quo for 2023. So I do applaud you for bringing that up, and I do agree with you that if people want to find out information, they should be contacting us directly or looking on our web pages and Facebook pages for that information.
Okay, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. And if I could just go back to the budget for a second, and I think this is very important. going back to 2009, when I first became mayor, the mill rate in Holyrood was 7.5 mils. In 2013, and I remember that very well, it was an assessment done, and a lot of property values, simply because the municipal assessment agency did not conduct or update the assessments in many years. As a result, the economy was thriving. And because this wasn't done, I think it was in 10 years, that most residential properties went up 20, 30, in some cases 40%. So we recognized that as a council at that time. And as a result, we actually reduced the mill rate from 7.5 down to 6.5 to help offset the increase in the assessments. And since 2013 until 2023, this year, we did not have any increases at all with residential or business taxes. So we've gone 10 years. And I know it's a very, very poor time to had to consider any increases whatsoever. But as Councillor Crowley said earlier, our expenditures in running the town, I don't know the exact percent, but I'm suggesting that they probably went up about 25%, because everything that we buy in the town now, whether it's fuel for our vehicles, parts for our equipment, lights, heat, and the list goes on and on and on. It has rose exponentially. And as I clearly articulated at the last meeting or the meeting before, in order for us to continue to provide the level and caliber of services and programs that our residents expect, it was totally unavoidable. And we went through a very exhaustive process during the budget in trying to cut and shave where we possibly could. Unfortunately, we came up short where our expenditures outweighed our revenue. And we were left with no other recourse but to adjust the mill rate by 0.5 of a mil. But I just want to remind everybody that that's the only increase we had in 10 years was 0.5 mil increase. I know the timing was way off. It couldn't be a worse time, but it was inevitable. And I said this before, and I won't belabor this, but we certainly understand, how residents feel about, the rising cost of inflation, interest rates, and the list goes on. The economy is struggling right now. Everybody's faced with higher bills, but we as a council collectively have a responsibility to run this town in a safe, effective, and efficient manner. And in order to do that, we had no choice but to adjust our mill rate accordingly. So I will leave it at that. Okay, any other questions or comments? If not, we will move on to the operational review. Councillor Windsor.
Oops, sorry.
You're on mute.
I'm sorry, Mayor. Most stated sentence for the last 3 years is, oh, you're on mute. So I mean, we touched on the operational review earlier in the meeting when we had a little discussion around the adoption of the minutes and so on. So the next steps are to make the award and kick off the work. And once the successful proponent is notified, we will be seeking to immediately chair a meeting, the committee, with that individual and discuss again the basis of the work and our expectations, which will clearly line out, and the schedule, which is favorable. And I think the first quarter will be a lot of discussion and interviews with different individuals. Everyone will be consulted, the full council and staff and so on. And of course, as we've said before, There's no final report getting lobbed over the fence without our deep involvement. There will be many interviews, discussions, meetings, presentations, and everybody will have an opportunity to have their say. And as part of the consultation process as well, there is a public consultation. So you certainly do encourage people to keep an eye on that. And we will be communicating through official means, how to get engaged and get involved with that. And so stay tuned, watch our channels for more on that. But the next step is notify the successful proponent of the award and meet with them to kick off the work and go from there. That's really all to say on that right now, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Windsor. And I will just say that we did have an organizational review, and I think we have to understand the difference. We did have an organizational review done back several years ago, but I think the operational review goes far beyond that, because it is going to encompass a lot more. Like you just said, there will be a public consultation process, interviews with staff, interviews with council. And, overall, it will clearly, or hopefully clearly determine through certain recommendations as to what we're doing right, and areas that we may, try to improve upon, and give us some sense of indication that as our town continues to grow, in the years to come, that what direction do we need to go? Are we heading in the right direction, or do we make some adjustments and modifications in certain areas? So it's all in an effort to ensure that there's efficiency and effectiveness, as we try to operate the town as a council with the staff. So anyway, I look forward to the process, and we'll see how it unfolds. Any other questions or comments?
No, Mr. Mayor, I just want to say I concur. I think it's long overdue, and I would, I'm about 80% completed on the stuff that I intend to present, and I would also, it is going to be a public consultation, sorry, and I would encourage all these people that are on the Holyrood Voice that got their opinion. Well, if you got your opinion on Holyrood Voice, then when the time comes for these public consultations, then your nose what should be sitting in the chair across from the people there. And that's the time then, if you want to make a difference, I know your people are expressing their feelings on Holyrood Voice, but if you want to really make a difference, then here comes the opportunity for you to have your say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. And if there's no other comments, we will now move on to corporate services and administration. And I do believe, Councillor Crowley, you're going to pay the bills.
Some of them, yep. Will do. I agree, Bruce. I'm taking names, and those names better be in those seats when we have that public consultation. And the same ones better be ready to run in 3 years.
I already got their names wrote down, Laura.
You're ahead of me. So we did have an agreement signed with CUPE at the 11th hour there, just before Christmas. So that's fantastic. Our union is signed on for another 3 years. And now we get into our manager salary reviews and stuff in the new year. So there's still lots of business to be taken care of. Part of the corporate service administration goes hand in hand with the business and development and marketing, and having those businesses registered. And we're looking at our structure and our rates. So for our businesses in the town, and we're reviewing those and trying to consolidate and make a streamlined process there. And then also in terms of our taxes and that increase, and part of it was hopefully going to go towards our asset management and acquisitions so that we can take care of the outdated water and sewer that is in our town. So all those things are going to be upcoming this month. So that's the only updates I have right now, as we did not meet since the new year. Councillor King, Bruce King, I don't know if you have anything else to add. Otherwise, I'll go on and put forward the motions.
No, Laura, you go on. Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. So in our accounts, be it resolved that those accounts tabled in the amount of $68,051.10, which are checks number 44091 to 44098, and D2991 to D3018 be approved for payment from the general account. So moved.
Moved by Councillor Crawley. Could I have a seconder, please?
Councillor King.
Seconded by Councillor Bruce King. Further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Those against? Motion carried.
Okay, our bank book balance is currently sitting at $1,247.65. Therefore, we're having another motion of transfer. Be it resolved that the Town of Holyrood transfer $75,000 from the premium investment account to the general account. So moved.
Moved by Councillor Crawley, seconded by
Deputy Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Woodford. Further discussion? And again, this is just a regular procedure that when we need to dip into some funds, we have this money invested to make a few shackles in the interim. So it's just a standard procedure.
That's
Okay.
right. When we're in the plus, it's moved over to try to, get some investment funds. And when we need it, it's taken back. Exactly.
Exactly. Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Councillor Monaghan? Motion carried. All right. Is that it, Councillor Crawley from Corporate Services?
That is it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Now we'll do new business and I'll do the go around, starting with Deputy Mayor.
No, there's nothing else that I want to bring up tonight. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Councillor Bruce King.
No, sir, nothing from me. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Crawley.
No, just be safe and careful when you're shoveling and playing.
Okay. Councillor Bucko.
No, nothing for me.
Councillor King.
Yeah, I'd just like to take the opportunity to wish all our staff and residents a happy and safe new year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Windsor.
Nothing further here, Mayor. Thank you, and all council. Good meeting. Thank you.
Okay. All right. That wraps up the meeting. Date of the next meeting is February 7th at 5:30. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Deputy Mayor Woodford.
Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by
Councillor
Crawley.
Councillor Buckle. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
Those against? All right, meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much. Have a good evening.